Hello and welcome to the Naked Expat channel. My name's Andrew, and in today's video I'm getting real about a topic that too many foreign retirees ignore until it's too late. The title says it all. 10 costly mistakes British expats make in the Philippines and how to avoid them. Now, this isn't a scare piece, it's a reality check. I've lived here long enough to see both sides. The dream and the downfall. These stories are based on real people. Some I've met, some are well documented, and if you're planning to move here or you're already living in paradise, these lessons could literally save your pension, your property, or even your life. Now, some names and details have been changed, but the situations are genuine. And at the end, I'll share links on my own site, Naked Expat, where you can reach out for personal advice or guidance. All right, let's jump straight in. Mistake number 1, no comprehensive international health insurance. This one's brutal, and it's the number one reason pensioners go broke abroad. If you think private healthcare is cheap in the Philippines, it can be until it's not. Take John, a 68-year-old from Manchester. He retired in the Versailles, had basic local insurance and loved his quiet seaside life. Then came the heart attack. He survived, but the surgery, ICU and medications cost over 2 million pesos. That's about £28,000. His affordable plan only covered a fraction. John had to sell his house in the UK and borrow from friends just to stay alive. Lesson: always carry international health insurance designed for retirees, and check exclusions for pre-existing medical conditions and budget for repatriation because the costs add up really fast. And here's something many do not know. Local insurers like Pacific Cross use experience-based pricing. Now this sounds harmless, right? But it's not. It means if you make big claims, your future premiums will skyrocket, often becoming unaffordable just when you're old enough to actually need cover. It's a subtle way of quietly pushing you out once you're a financial risk. And don't be fooled by glossy websites or US-based firms either. If your insurer isn't UK regulated, you've got almost zero consumer protection. Only UK-based and regulated international insurers fall under a proper ombudsman with real authority to challenge unfair claim rejections. In contrast, many US or offshore companies are masters of the small print. Get-out clauses, exclusions and ambiguous definitions that leave you with no legal recourse. So protect yourself, get a solid, regulated policy and always check for pre-existing exclusions and repatriation cover. You do not need to be a British citizen to take out international health cover with an international based insurer that's UK regulated. Links in my description. The second mistake is falling for romance and friendship scams. This one's painful because it preys on something decent: loneliness and trust. Romance scams are exploding worldwide, and the Philippines has become a hotspot, unfortunately. Scammers build fake relationship, milk on emotions, and drain your savings. Mark, a 63-year-old widower from Devon, met Maria on Facebook. She said she was a nurse caring for her sick mother. Over 6 months, she sent endless photos, later proven stolen, and eventually asked for help with medical bills, phone repairs, and even a fake wedding fund. By the time Mark realised, he'd sent over £15,000. And what happened? The account vanished. Now, it's not just money, it's humiliation and heartbreak. These scams often run from compounds or call centre style operations, and the victims, they're ordinary guys, kind-hearted, trusting, maybe just looking for companionship. Red flags: anyone asking for money early, refusing video calls, or inventing endless emergencies. Always verify through video chat, ask for ID, and talk to someone objective before sending a penny. If you suspect something, you can report it to Action Fraud in the UK, and of course, cut off all contact immediately. The third mistake involves property, partners, and land title traps. This is an emotional one. You've met someone, found your dream spot, and think, "Oh, build us a home." But here's the law: foreigners cannot own land in the Philippines. You can own a structure like a house or a condo, but the land underneath must be in a Filipino's name. And usually that means your partner. And this right here is where many retirements fall apart. Now here's a very common story. A British retiree builds a home on land titled to his Filipino partner. After a breakup, she claims full ownership and he's forced to leave. The house is legally hers because it sits on her land, and there's little that he can do, no matter how much he's spent. And let's be brutally honest, if he kicks up too much of a stink about it, he's likely to disappear. Problem solved. That's the ugly reality no one wants to talk about. Even if you think you're clever, you lease the land for 25 years in your name, or you register yourself as co-owner of the house. It doesn't change the fundamental risk. Once that relationship turns sour, you're in a very dangerous position. Legal paperwork will not protect you from social pressure, family influence, or worse. Now, I'm going to say something that I've said before and most people won't say. Do not buy property in the Philippines. You cannot own the land, construction quality is often very poor, and tying up your capital during retirement is madness. You may need that money later for medical care or repatriation. Here's the truth. When you build in her name, you hand over control. If the romance dies, your investment dies with it. But if you rent, she has to stay loyal until the very end, because there's still mutual stability in play. Many expats are good blokes, generous, trusting, and maybe, too nice. I've said it before. They want to make their partner happy, but once you've handed over your life savings, the balance shifts. Renting keeps things real. It keeps both partners honest. And if things do go south, you can pack your bags and move on with your dignity and your bank account intact. The fourth mistake is investing in local businesses and schemes. Now this one's an entrepreneurial trap. Everyone thinks they can open a bar, a dive shop, or a little resort. You see it all the time, and usually it ends in tears. Peter from Glasgow met some local investors in Cebu who promised him a 25% return on a beachfront bar. They used his name on the lease, his money for all of the build, and then, conveniently, the permits fell through. The bar was seized and Peter lost £40,000. Or Tony, another Brit that I knew, invested in a big farm partnership. His partner sold the pigs just before market, pocketed the cash and disappeared onto another island. And remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Check registrations, ask for audited accounts, and never invest through verbal agreements. If you can't afford to lose it, don't hand it over. The fifth mistake is poor tax and asset planning. Boring, but crucial, yes. Some retirees arrive thinking they're off the radar, but you're not. The UK and the Philippines have different systems, and if you don't plan properly, you can be double taxed or lose benefits. Alan, a retired engineer, transferred all his UK savings to a Philippine account when the pound was weak. Later, when he needed the money for a property back home, he lost nearly £10,000 on currency conversion alone, not including the tax penalties from cashing out at the wrong time. Talk to an international financial advisor who understands both UK and Philippine rules. Keep most of your assets offshore, ring-fenced from the UK and the Philippines. In order to do this successfully, you need to speak with a fully qualified and recognised international financial advisor. The gentleman that deals with my finances now I'm retired, I've known for over 30 years, and he used to work for me. Contact me via email, which you'll find in the description. Alright, that's the first 5. Health, scams, property, investments and tax. Now grab a drink, because the next 5 are where things get personal. Control, loneliness, legal grey areas and the kind of slow financial bleed that catches even the smart ones off guard. The 6th mistake is social isolation and handing over control. This one creeps up slowly. You've moved abroad, your friends are back home and you start to rely on whoever's nearby. Maybe a new friend, a helpful neighbour, or even your partner's family. An older British expat, David from Leeds, trusted a younger friend he'd met through his girlfriend's cousin. The guy offered to help David manage his bills online because David wasn't used to apps and technology because he was old-fashioned and a bit of a Luddite. Now you know what's going to happen here. Over time, David's pension went straight into the joint account and within a year all the money was gone, siphoned into family projects. When he confronted them, what did they do? They laughed in his face and told him to go home to England. Don't ever hand over control of your finances, your passwords or your cards. Keep a UK family member or accountant as your power of attorney, not someone you met 6 months ago in a bar. If you want help managing bills, fine, but do use dual verification. Keep your phone on the account and never sign anything that you don't fully understand. When you give away control, you lose your independence, and that's when things start to slide. The 7th mistake is underestimating rising costs and emergency funds. Everyone says it's cheap to live in the Philippines, and it can be, but inflation, healthcare, and family support obligations creep up fast. Colin, a pensioner from Kent, lived comfortably for years on £1,000 a month until his partner's father got sick. Suddenly he was paying hospital bills, medicine and food for the entire household. Then came typhoon damage, a roof replacement and a motorbike accident. Within 18 months, Colin's savings were gone. Always keep an emergency fund, ideally 6 to 12 months living expenses, in a UK account that you can access immediately. Avoid depending entirely on local banks. If you lose your card or get hacked, you're stranded. And remember, family emergencies can drain you faster than any bill. Generosity is fine, but boundaries protect your retirement. The 8th mistake is about visas and legal oversight. A lot of retirees underestimate immigration rules. They assume they can just renew a tourist visa forever, until one day they can't. Brian from Liverpool overstayed by a few weeks after a family emergency. He was fined, blacklisted and detained overnight at immigration. He lost his apartment lease and had to leave the country for good, and he was banned for 1 year. Always keep your visa current. Hire a legitimate immigration agent if you need one, but verify their license. There are countless fixers who will happily take your cash and hand you forged receipts. That's a one-way ticket to deportation. If you want stability, apply for the SRRV retirement visa or a permanent resident visa through marriage. But read the fine print. The SRRV has deposit requirements and rules that change frequently. Always get the latest information from the PRA, the Philippine Retirement Authority, or the local embassy website. A lot of SRRV information is also on nakedexpat.com, my website. Mistake number 9, ignoring cultural and family dynamics. This one's subtle but huge. British culture values independence. Filipino culture values family and extended family. That means when you partner up, you're often supporting more than just one person. Marry the woman, marry the family. Steve, a retired policeman, married a lovely woman from Davao. Within a year, her siblings, cousins, and even aunts were staying at his home temporarily. Food, electricity, and school costs tripled. When Steve tried to say no, tensions grew. Eventually, his wife sided with her family and Steve moved out. You're not just marrying the woman, you're marrying the family. As I've said in plenty of other videos, in the Philippines, family, family, family. And that's fine if you can afford it and everyone respects boundaries. But if you can't afford it, you'll be seen as the problem. Be upfront from day one. Discuss finances openly. If your partner avoids the topic, that's your sign to slow down. And lastly, medical emergencies and no repatriation plan. We started with healthcare, but this one deserves its own spotlight. Medical emergencies abroad. Even with good insurance, there's one cost few think about: medical evacuation or repatriation. Jeff from Birmingham had a stroke in Bohol. His insurance covered hospitalisation, but not medical evacuation. The local hospital couldn't handle the required surgery, and an air ambulance to Manila cost £12,000 up front. His family had to crowdfund from the UK. Anne and Robert, a couple from Cornwall, had similar trouble after a motorbike crash. Their international policy excluded road accidents due to alcohol consumption. One beer was enough to void the claim. Always read exclusions, especially around accidents, alcohol, or pre-existing conditions, and make sure your plan includes repatriation to your home country. What I recommend, get in contact with me, covers all of this: international healthcare, and also, importantly, underwritten and protected by the UK Ombudsman in case of a failed claim. You got comeback, because as everybody knows in the UK, the Ombudsman has got real teeth. Let's keep it real, because once you're in a crisis, the last thing you want is to rely on GoFundMe for a flight home. Now, in summary, the Naked Expat checklist. Let's summarise the key takeaways before we wrap it up. Firstly, get a UK regulated international health policy, not a local one like Pacific Cross. They're rubbish. Secondly, don't send money to online lovers, and always verify before you trust anybody. 3. Never buy property in your partner's name. Rent. 4. Avoid local business or investment ideas, because the vast majority of them are worthless. 5th, plan taxes and assets across both countries, and preferably ring-fence the vast majority of your assets offshore in a tax-efficient manner. 6. Keep control of your finances with no joint cards or anything requiring access with friends. 7. Maintain a UK or offshore emergency fund. 8. Stay on top of your visa and avoid illegal fixers. 9. Understand cultural expectations and set financial boundaries. And lastly, the 10th mistake to avoid: have a clear repatriation and end-of-life plan. Simple, right? But the reality is, most of these mistakes are made by good, honest expats who just wanted a better life in the Philippines. Retiring abroad can be incredible, cheaper, warmer, and definitely more social, but only if you do it with your eyes wide open. Protect your health, your heart, and your money. And if you want personal guidance or just ask me something privately, you can contact me through the email address on YouTube or via the Naked Expat, that's nakedexpat.com website. Also, consider becoming a Naked Expat channel member, because you'll get early access to my new videos, you'll get exclusive content, higher discounts on services, and priority responses. If this video helped you, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you've not already done so, and feel free to share it with somebody else who you think needs to see it. Because being informed doesn't just save money, it can literally save lives. Be smart, stay safe, and most of all, stay real. Until next time, thank you for watching. Enjoy.